An average person's brain consumes around 20 watts of power continuously. Over the 80-year lifespan, that amounts to 14 megawatt hours. Surprisingly a lot for an organ and incredibly efficient for a general-purpose device that has to handle several systems in the background. That's 1/10 the power of a gaming console and about 1/6000th of an NVL72. Every 5 days, an NVL72 consumes as much energy as one human brain does over an 80-year lifetime. It's remarkable that evolution produced something as capable as a human brain that runs on the energy of a refrigerator or light bulb. So there's definitely potential for improvement in computing efficiency. But the focus is not there. It's on we need all the computing now, yesterday. Green energy transition was going well until gigawatts became pocket change. Now I have a feeling, might be wrong, like there's a little too much trust invested in this AI data center tech, and resources, and ecology. Some of the smartest and richest people in the world are seeing this as an opportunity. Some are eagerly excited. What I'm going to suggest will sound pretty out there, but let me fill you in on how I might be onto something here. As with most crazy theories, there's a lot to unpack here, and the losing battle against ADD will be as tough as ever. Consider this. Billionaires and people of power are usually the most rational and pragmatic. They also aren't prone to reckless moves and decisions. And yet, they seem to have entered this insane race to blow this AI bubble to be the worst in history. Elon has even strong-armed a respected stock exchange into breaking its own rules and run his IPO at a huge discount for apparently much-needed cash. But what does a trillionaire need cash for these days? So scalable intelligence turned out to mean scalable electricity bill. Amazon, Google, Alphabet, OpenAI, xAI, Meta, G42, Oracle, CoreWeave, Lambda, O'Leary Ventures, the list is huge. Some are operational while others are partially built or just announced. Apparently a mere announcement can make you rich if you mention AI. Hell, this whole IPO deal is not about a rocket company, so you're investing into shares of a data center venture that just happens to build space rockets on the side. Just to give you a perspective and make this whole thing a tad more tangible, let's look into what data centers are. Broadly speaking, of course, because those things are really complicated. Huge complexes are filled with server racks that are used to train LLM models of ever-increasing complexity. They're powered by chips designed by Jensen Huang's NVIDIA. They're called GPUs, which is short for Graphics Processing Unit, of which they are not. No, seriously, even though initially they were designed for graphics output, they were first exploited for mining calculations, sending a bunch of gaming nerds into blind rage. That includes myself. Then their computational power was used to train a neural network, and thus a GPU should be just called PU. That would be more appropriate. So, a typical NVIDIA GB200 NVL72 rack consists of 72 Blackwell GPUs, 36 Grace CPUs, NVLink switching fabric, and requires liquid cooling due to the fact that it's consuming 200 to 300 kilowatts of electricity to operate. And costs around $2.5 to $4 million depending on how good of friends you are with Jensen. We replaced thinking with compute, which is great because thinking was clearly too energy efficient. They're building the future here. All over the planet, those server racks gorge on power, and we're talking megawatts. They're using the same size connectors they use to hook up trains. They run rows of GE Vernova LM2500 or LM6000s. Those are the jet engines from Boeings and Airbuses that you're so familiar with, without the large high bypass fan. On a plane, that turbine was the core. Its job was to spin the giant fan and generate thrust. Now the hot gas stream drives a free power turbine connected to a shaft that turns an electrical generator. Same 60s engineering DNA, same rig that burns Jet A kerosene in the clouds above is now combusting 7,000 to 9,000 cubic meters of natural gas per hour, right next door to some of you. A Dreamliner while cruising is burning around 2.5 to 3,000 kilos of jet fuel per each engine per hour. That's about 120 tons of Jet A daily. With an output of 50 megawatts, an LM6000 produces 1200 megawatt hours each day, continuously. They call them aeroderivatives. However, the only thing that's aero about them is how much heat they're spewing into the surrounding air. While rediscovering LLMs that were around since the 80s, we're accidentally rediscovering the power grid. And a medium AI campus might deploy 20 to 40 LM6000 units. Now, of course, there's redundancy built in there, but that's around 1 to 2 gigawatts of on-site gigawatts. One turbine provides enough power to run over 20,000 of H100s or roughly 400 plus NVL72 systems. And all those regs are doing is consume and process data. They're learning on it. Jensen is helping guys like Peter and Alex here to perfect mass surveillance. What started as a gaming company is now a supplier for the future the majority doesn't want, but we're having it anyway. And the flood of AI slop is just the tip of the iceberg. So never mind the political tensions and the techno-dystopia we're living in that's worse than any of the science fiction writers' predictions, by being both creepier and lamer. The brain, low power, self-healing, runs for decades, AI hardware, expensive, hot, bad for ecology, and obsolete in 4 years. Now people with actual degrees in science and, education, are expressing concerns about this craze, but you don't see Greta blocking the entrance of those facilities that have better security setup than the HK factory. I wonder why. But in all fairness to data centers, they release around 1.5 exajoules of heat annually, which sounds like a lot, but when compared to the combined output of industry and transportation's 310 exajoules, it becomes negligible. However, the heat and electricity demand of data centers is extremely concentrated, and the growth rate is impressive. A single modern AI campus can draw as much power as a large industrial complex, and that campus is subscription-based. Recent studies have shown that subscriptions are shared within a family. That means several individuals might be using the same benefits from a monthly payment. And we can't have that. The solution is simple. Everyone has to be lonely. There's more than enough people on this planet. It's getting a little crowded. We've been successfully pricing out common folk out of New Zealand. And if it works in the long run, we're gonna do the same everywhere where it's nice. Watch out, Ireland. Dropping those housing prices might have saved your economy, but it's healthy enough to start the exodus any day. Jeez, I hope I'm wrong about this. According to Jensen, there's only 1 billion people on Earth.
And humans, there are only 1 billion of us.
Let me translate this into, as he calls it, human speak. That means there's only 1 billion worthwhile humans in the world, meaning those who can potentially afford his product. And that is not nearly enough. So this is where agents come in. Don't look at me, it's what he said himself. He wants them to be able to initiate payments on their own. He wants those things to be his new client base. Just like he's profiting like no other except maybe the chip makers and the memory producers on this new exciting AI venture, he's also forced to support it by reinvesting a part of his profits back into the industry, creating this circular investment thing that keeps so many analysts from sleeping. It's never enough, apparently, but still. However, the question that keeps me wide awake at night is, why? Why?
Why?
I mean, this ain't a question if your name is Jensen and your surname is Huang, but what about the rest? What about Mr. O'Leary, for example? Why is he so keen on this? Why is the friendly billionaire who used to pretend to care about his public image seem to have switched priorities completely and upset a whole state of Utah? Why are the governments suddenly demanding early previews of the new LLM models to be made available to them before release? Why is every rich and obviously smart and calculated person on this planet is so into this business of neural network development? Now this is the out there part that I was telling you about. I can't back it up by any evidence, but my perception and my gut feeling are telling me I might be onto something here. You see, these people we're talking about are at the top of the food chain. It's an absolutely different plane of existence in comparison to regular people. Whether you like it or not, the super rich are above the law, the regulations, and there are no boundaries that they cannot cross. They're actually enjoying absolute freedom and absolute power. The only thing that is truly valuable to them is their time. It's the limitation put on them via their frail mortal flesh. The vessel for their soul is fragile and finite, and it bothers them. One day, it will all come to an end. And unfortunately for them, they were unlucky enough to be born before the Colombian scientists announced that you will soon be able to tailor-make bespoke humans. Their health, appearance, and mental capacity will be engineered to perfection. Those Homo perfectus will look at us, creatures of pure random chance, as curiosities of the past. But while they missed this train by a few decades, what they didn't miss is a chance. From the moment I understood the weakness of my flesh, it disgusted me. There's this thing called transhumanism. Some people in the tech industry are really into that. They understand how flawed and feeble their minds and bodies are. And they ain't having that. They want perfection and infinity. And the power of neural networks makes this dream seem within reach. That's why we're risking so much on this, for this potential of eternal existence. No, really. I know I'm just an idiot rambling, and you really shouldn't take me seriously, but I feel like I'm onto something here. There's potential in neural networks. The limit of that potential is yet to be discovered. And the price is not the money, it's the energy we're producing and the heat we're expelling. And they don't treat water right either. Water cooling is costing us. And the funny part is that everyone gets to share the electrical bill. A chance to create a machine to solve the time problem by whatever means necessary, whatever becomes more probable, more tangible, more possible to create and produce. Sign me and the rest of the world up. Whether it's a new synthetic body for their mind and consciousness to be transferred to, or just like in Paul Anderson's Hunter's Dream, a new verse inside an all-powerful, forever self-developing supercomputer that eventually will make anything possible. Whatever it is, it's worth betting everything on. And I do mean everything. It's basically a chance to create a fountain of youth by yourself for yourself. Immortality might be within their hand's reach. Or at the very least, just even more power and influence. So the worst outcome is you get an omnipotent, obedient advisor, a tool to create tools and solutions to any problem at hand, any problem you can think of, and an even better weapon than a thermonuclear warhead. That thing, it's indiscriminate. It wipes out everything and everyone. But what if a machine flawlessly determines who are the unwanted ones and disposes of them with surgical precision and even cleans up the mess afterwards, and there's like no trace of them ever existing left? Out of my sight, out of my mind. Democracy is such a wonderful concept that just doesn't work. Thiel's and Karp's alternative is just pure tyranny. I'm sure certain people have already taken notice. Karp says he wants to see America as America in 1,000 years. Like a 1,000-year Reich, Alex? You haven't even achieved that and you already sound unhinged. The unhinged salesman for the unhinged customer is exactly what we need right now. Surveillance used to be something governments did. A guy in headphones sat in a stuffy room overtime, listening attentively, making hasty notes. Now it's all automated, analyzed instantly, and the best part, it's something users give up voluntarily. Just install these new updates, please, without the please. So the plan is simple, and it is working. Go ahead, go to any restaurant around the world. What do you see? Couples eating out, fancy food, fancy atmosphere. What are they doing though? Almost everyone is staring at their phone. The slot machine of pool is a way better dopamine source than any company or cool interior. The only thing that's more captivating is the food. That's when you take a break from looking at the lame dance moves put to the same 5 songs that are popular this week, or from talking to an LLM. Looks like our psychological vulnerabilities have been studied thoroughly and turned against us. If you haven't fallen victim to one thing, there's always another trap just around the corner. Everyone has a weakness, and their traps are everywhere now. They're not keeping it a secret, it's all in plain sight, and it's a battle out there. The battlefield is your brain and the objective is your attention. The algorithm was trained for years. Kasparov has an amazing brain, but even he was powerless against the 90s computer. Jensen builds chips that are a million times more powerful now. And you don't even have to improve or adjust them too much these days. It does it by itself. At a rate that scares some people. Even Elon is scared, but that dude is scared of everything. I mean, who wouldn't be with a dad like that? But Jensen? He had a nice upbringing. He's not scared. Is it all by his design, though? The future of security is shaping up to be pretty simple. If you've done nothing wrong, the system will eventually get around to agreeing with you. No refunds. So when was the last time fortune was made outside a monopoly? That's right, never. Others will just move in by offering the same thing for less. That's no way to make a profit. That's just getting by. You need to run the competition out of town, but not all the way. That pesky commission might take notice, and there go your profits.
Adios, muchachos.
Weirdos like Ted here knew it was coming 30 years ago. They were crazy and smart enough to see it coming. These days, we're being told what's going on straight up. And the price of success is also more transparent now. What do you want from Jensen? I mean, these two promised to take out the trash, but then saw that it's all trash all the way. That's the whole system. At this point, if you don't like it, you can head for the mountains, but make sure that they're not too close to any future data center sites. Cold air could be great for cooling those server racks. Yeah, they sure want to make money, but AI work is fickle, weird, and unreliable. Yeah, it's great at processing large volumes of data, it's okay at providing simple analysis, but you won't actually trust it with any sensitive, complex tasks or strategies. So what are those gas-guzzling turbines in those centers are working out so hard? Why is it so lucrative? I mean, it is very lucrative for the turbine and the generator companies. I'm sure construction companies are excited too. But Jensen is ecstatic. Foxconn owners are probably excited too. Unlike their workers. A software engineer may cost 80 to 300k annually. If AI can automate even part of that workload, customers tolerate substantial compute costs. Wait, but Jensen said it's creating more jobs. My friend, who's the lead developer at a medical appliance company, and let's leave it at that, is currently using LLMs as his main instrument. The company is going to cut their spending on token next month, though. A lot of his questions on other people's code is answered with LLMs too. I bet that will also change when they perfect the agents.
It is just off the charts.
That's not off the charts, Jensen, but you'll get there. All I see is LLMs and robots saving companies money. On what though? Salaries. Is that a bad thing? Well, for someone employed in the industry, yes, but the whole paradigm might soon change. For some, sentient LLMs is the new satanic panic. It's basically the latest fear-mongering technique for the idiots. Both freedom and privacy have been traded for convenience a while ago. Market surveillance, street surveillance, sensor monitoring. Are you risky enough to trust an LLM to watch for critical failures? Would you replace your human technician with this agent? And it's gonna happen at some point. Before the AI boom, there was another, smaller one. The one that fizzled out really quick. Some may remember it. It was the mining boom. Jensen was really happy about that one too. All those shipping containers in the middle of nowhere with GPUs bought directly from vendors bypassing the starving market, that's absolutely nothing in comparison to the times we're in now. Now the governments are involved. Everyone wants a piece of that pie. But the sweet monopoly is only there for Jensen right now. Others are off in the race for the one LLM to rule them all. Speaking of Lord of the Rings, some of Jensen's biggest partners are huge Tolkien fans. Removing emotion from decision making is such a great idea, because emotions kept interfering with things like consequences, ethics, empathy. The invention of semiconductors was a revolution, an even bigger one than the Industrial Revolution was, but even semiconductors might pale in comparison to what may be brewing here. The race is on. Suddenly, players like Google, Elon, and others need actual cash. Why would they all need liquidity all of a sudden? To pay for those glorious newish products. If an agent turns out to be a reliable worker, and if their company is actually an operating system of a government now, then this might mean we're on the brink of a new age. And it's all in the hands of people like Peter and Alex, with Jensen being their trusty supplier. That's quite a responsibility those guys are taking on. Humanity might need a whole new economic system when the dust settles. Is this AI industry a bubble? Well, most likely, but this bubble may very well be filled with something more tangible than air before it bursts. And that try it for free and then get hooked forever is a strategy that is proven to work. And the problem is not that most of us can't afford it. Most people couldn't afford those fancy personal computers in the 80s and 90s, but they offered a real advantage. These agents may become a necessity. It's no wonder there's so much public backlash. People don't like change. Meanwhile, Chinese companies are putting data center clusters on the bottom of the ocean and reportedly utilizing 99% of power generated on actual computing instead of just half. That's a better solution than launching them into space, Elon. There's also Antarctic and Arctic. If true, the rapid adoption of LLMs and the extraordinary growth rate of the industry speaks of many things. Among them is a mixture of hope and fear. And it's also a mark of progress. And progress has always walked hand in hand with controversy and newly emerging issues. Technology brings opportunity and with it new ways to exploit and ruin. The Industrial Revolution sprouted landowners and the working class. Semiconductors sprouted tech billionaires and new ways of exploiting our behavioral patterns, among other things. The thing about AI is that it might be the next revolution to which a lot of us might fall victim to. But humanity is very likely to prevail. The question is, at what cost?